The road curved again. For a moment the crowd was gone as they crossed the bridge, spanning the Androscoggin. Beneath them the water boiled along, sullen and salty, dressed with cheesy yellow foam. "Well?" "Save your breath for a minute," Garrity said. "You'll need it." They came to the end of the bridge, and the crowd was with them again as they swung left and started up the Brickyard Hill. It was long, steep, and banked. The river was dropping away below them on the left, and on their right was an almost perpendicular upslope. Spectators clung to trees, to bushes, to each other, and chanted Garrity's name. Once he had dated a girl who lived on Brickyard Hill, a girl named Carolyn. She was married now, had a kid. She might have led him, but he was young and pretty dumb. From up ahead, Parker was giving a whispery, out-of-breath "God damn!" that was barely audible over the crowd. Garrity's legs quivered and threatened to go to jelly. But this was the last big hill before Freeport. After that, it didn't matter. If he went to hell, he went to hell. Finally, they breasted it. Carolyn had nice breasts. She often wore cashmere sweaters. And Stebbins, panting just a little, repeated, "Well?" The guns roared. A boy named Charlie Field bowed out of the wall. Then, for the fourth time, it was 9 o'clock in the morning. They turned left, and the crowd was again below the 24 of them as they crossed the 295 overpass and into the town of Freeport. Up ahead was the Dairy Joy, where he and Jan sometimes used to stop after the movies. They turned right and were on US 1, what somebody had called the Big Highway. Big or small, it was the last highway. The hands on Garrity's watch seemed to jump out at him. Downtown was straight ahead. Woolman's was on the right. He could just see it, a squat and ugly building hiding behind a false front. The ticker tape was starting to fall again. The rain made it sodden and sticky, lifeless. The crowd was swelling. Someone turned on the town fire siren, and its wails mixed and blended with Klingerman's. Klingerman and the Freeport fire siren sang a nightmarish duet. Tension filled Garrity's veins, stuffed them full of copper wire. He could hear his heart thudding, now in his guts, now in his throat, now right between the eyes. 200 yards. They were screaming his name again. "Ray, Ray, all the way!" But he had not seen a familiar face in the crowd yet. He drifted over to the right until the clutching hands of crowd were inches from him. Only a few 100 yards to go now. He could see the big brown Woolman sign, but no sign of his mother or of Jan. God, oh God, God, Stebbins had been right. Even if they were here, how was he going to see them in this shifting, clutching mass? He stumbled and almost fell over his own loose legs. Stebbins had been right. He wanted to stop here, to not go any further. The disappointment, the sense of loss was so staggering it was hollow. What was the point? What was the point now? I can't go on. Can't. But his feet stumbled on. Where am I? Jan! 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 He saw her. She was waving the blue scarf he had gotten her for her birthday, and the rain shimmered in her hair like gems. His mother was beside her, wearing her plain black coat. A great sore somewhere in his body seemed to burst. The infection ran out of him in a green flood. He burst into a shambling pigeon-toed run. His ripped socks flapped and slapped his swollen feet. Jan! Jan! So here's the map of where we just traversed. We went over the Route 295 overpass down 125, and then we made a right onto Route 1 and then went into downtown Freeport. Woolman's would be right here where the LL Bean currently is, and this curve in the road is where McVries says, if you've got to do it after the next corner. You know, talking about Garrity committing suicide rather than do it in front of his mother and girlfriend. So let's drop into Street View and take a look. So this would be where the Woolman's is, my calculations, and you could see the next corner here is where McVries. So right in here is where Garrity is meeting up with his mother and girlfriend. An arm brought him up short. It was McVries. A soldier speaking through a sexless bullhorn was giving them both first warning. Not into the crowd! McVries' lips were against Garrity's ear and he was shouting. A lancet of pain pierced into Garrity's head. Let me go! I won't let you kill yourself, Ray! Let me go, goddammit! Do you want to die in her arms? Is that it? The time was fleeting. She was crying. He could see the tears on her cheeks. He wrenched free of McVries. He started for her again. He felt hard, angry sobs coming up from inside him. He wanted sleep. He would find it in her arms. He loved her. Ray, I love you. He could see the words on her lips. Second warning blared from the loudhailer like the voice of God. Jan! She was reaching out to him, hands touching, her cool hand, her tears, his mother, her hands reaching. He grasped them. In one hand he held Jan's hand, in the other his mother's hand. He touched them. It was done. It was done until McVries' arm came down around his shoulder again. Cruel McVries. Let me go! Let me go! Man, you must really hate her, McVries screamed in his ear. What do you want? To die knowing they're both stinking with your blood? Is that what you want? For Christ's sake, come on! He struggled, but McVries was strong. Maybe McVries was even right. He looked at Jan, and now her eyes were wide with alarm. His mother made shooing gestures, and on Jan's lips he could read the words like a damnation. Go on! Go on! Of course I must go on, he thought dully. I am Maine's own. And in that second, he hated her. Although if he had done anything, it was more than to catch her and his mother in their snare he had laid for himself. Third warning for him and McVries. Now there was panic written on the faces of Jan and his mother. His mother's hands flew to her face. If you've got to do it around the next corner, you cheap shit, McVries cried. He began to whimper. McVries had beaten him again. McVries was very strong. All right, he said, not knowing if McVries could hear him or not. He began to walk. All right, let me loose before you break my collarbone, he sobbed, hiccuped, and wiped his nose. McVries let go of him wearily, ready to grab him again. Almost as an afterthought, Gary turned around and looked back, but they were already lost in the crowd again. He thought he would never forget that look of panic rising in their eyes. That feeling of trust and sureness finally kicked brutally away. He got nothing but half a glimpse of a waving blue scarf. He turned around and faced forward again, not looking at McVries, and his stumbling, traitorous feet carried him on, and they walked out of town.